This is part two of my Army lessons series, right? Things that I've been learning, things that I've been taught since I've been in the military. The first episode was over gratitude. This episode is going to be more about relationships and networking. I was just going to say relationships, but I feel like since I've been networking a lot, and it kind of ties into two. You got to be able to do both while you're in. It's definitely going to benefit you over the long run. But let's get into relationships first, right? So, for instance, I PCS over to Colorado. I came from Washington. I've been here for about when I got here in September. So however long that is, I can't do math. I've been here since September though, and I've already developed so many good relationships since I've been here. I met a bunch of people, I'm super close to a lot of people. But they always said your first duty station was gonna hit different, bro. They always told you the people that you meet at your first duty station is just gonna be a little bit different than all the other ones, right? And this is only my second one. I've only been in for 5 years, but I definitely don't feel like I'm gonna be able to find that same bond that I found when I was with them. I still talk to a lot of them now to this day. I know that a bunch of us still chop it up here and there. It's different, bro. You go through, you got your rank, you start off at the lower rank, and you watch people elevate, you watch people grow, you watch people leave. It's super hard to deal with. You go to you do your first of everything. I think that's what it is. You go to the field for the first time together. You go to the range. You learn so much for the first time with these group of people. So it just builds this bond that's gonna be different than most of the other units you go to, And I miss those people, bro. There's so many things we used to talk about. There's so many situations that we were in together, and I think it's different than being at like a corporate job or working at like a Walmart or a fast food restaurant or anything like that. Regardless of the job it is, I always feel like a military job and a group of people that you work with is going to be totally different, and the bond you create is going to be so much closer and stronger. Just because of the fact that for off top, you could lose your life together. Y'all could go to deploy, you go to Iraq or something like that, and shit can really get bad. In other jobs, you really don't have to deal with stuff like that. So you automatically think in your head like, okay, I have to build a bond with these people that's gonna be entirely different than just like a regular job where I'm doing regular shit. You're not doing regular shit in the military at the end of the day, right? It's one of the biggest organizations in the world, and it's just totally different. So I think that mindset and knowing that everybody's kind of just on the same page is like, okay, I got to open up a little bit more to these people than normal. I got to know these people a little bit better, because you just want to be aware, and you want to know who you're dealing with, right? And then from there, you kind of just build bonds with people. You get super close to people. You talk about a bunch of different stuff. And, bro, the conversations, if you in the military or you've been in any type of military, you already know the conversations get funny as hell. Y'all talk about whatever, the scenarios be crazy, like, good times, bro. Good times. And even now, you kind of, even though I went to a different duty station, I still get that same vibe of like, okay, like, they understand too. These people, the people that I've been kicking it with and I'm super cool with here at Colorado, it's pretty much the same thing. We all been in the military. We all kind of already know what's going on. We already kind of know for the most part what we're dealing with. And you still bond. You find people that you can relate to through stuff like basketball. Like if you played a sport in high school before the military, I go hoop with people. You go to the gym with people. You talk about what's going on outside of work. Different personalities, different characters. It's really interesting because of how big the military is. You meet so many people, bro. And it's something that I've worked other jobs before I was in the military, and a lot of those jobs I worked with friends. I worked with people from high school and stuff, so it was a little bit different. But once I joined and I went through basic and all that stuff, I met people from different countries. I met people from different states all over, and it just gave me a different type of perspective towards like how much relationships matter and how close you can get to somebody, and how somebody can be just like you from a totally different place, right? My voice cracking. I can feel it already. You build these bonds, bro, that's just gonna be irreplaceable. These people you're gonna meet, you're gonna probably know them for the rest of your life. You're gonna talk all the time, or you're gonna check in, and it's gonna be like nothing ever changed, And those are relationships that you, damn, your shit loud. Those are relationships that you you know, you feel like you get in high school and college, and it's kind of the same thing with the military. I feel like everybody that's been in can definitely relate to that. And I can feel that same vibe here for sure with a lot of people that I'm working with, and I'm getting to know a little bit better since I've been here. That it's gonna be some people that I'm long-term friends with, you know, that I can take my kids around and we can kick it like that. So relationships is key, bro. You wanna have good people around you. You wanna, don't be afraid to be open. You know, like I said earlier, these are people that you can potentially go out the country with for 6 to 9 months and deploy with and be shot at and all this other crazy shit. You don't want to have your guard up, be aware and kind of peep stuff, but at the same time, you definitely want to be open to what's really going on and how people really are, right? You got to be aware of your surroundings, I guess you could say. But I don't know, bro. I still hit up my boys all the time, check in, how you doing, how's life treating you. And I think it's funny that a lot of people that's gotten out, I got one of my boys right now just got a car. I was like, they get out and they don't have that same bond at the other jobs. Get out of the military, I'm just working, I go to my 9 to 5, or I do what I'm doing, and the camaraderie isn't really there. It's not the same, bro. It's not like you're not dealing with the same thing. And the military can suck sometimes for sure, but I think it's the relationships that really, really keep people close, keep people like, tight knit. All right, I got your back, you got mine. If you need this, I got you. I think it can get a little bit different when you work it at like a corporate job or just in a regular business. So that's something I appreciate. That's something that I hold on to. That's something that I think a lot of people look at, and I understand now why when people do their 20 years or they in the military for a long duration of time, they deal with like the depression, and they deal with like not being able to build these relationships no more, because it's not the same. It's not as easy to just, you speak a different language, low key, like when you've been in the military. So you're trying to transition that over to a different dynamic and a different type of person, or a different group of people. It's not going to be the same. They're not going to understand. And that's not a bad thing. You can't blame them and you can't really blame yourself, but it's hard to transition. And I can definitely see why veterans and people that get out of the military kind of deal with that. But relationships are a good thing to have while you're in the military. Have good relationships. Look for good people. Surround yourself with good people. Same thing regardless of your job. I think relationships are really important, but there's definitely a different level to it when you're in the military, I would say. And that's good. It's a good thing. That's the biggest benefit, I would say, that I've gotten. One of the biggest benefits that I've gotten, for sure, hands down, since I've been in, just the relationships that I built, people that I've talked to, and all that stuff. So the next thing that I'm going to get into, which is kind of more on like the business side, or something you can just kind of keep in your back pocket, is the networking ability that you'll have. So I was a command driver. This is where I first really got to be like, okay, like networking is definitely a huge thing in the military. So I was the command driver, which is basically working for, just say you work for the CEO of your business, right? And you were with them most of the time, or a good percentage of the time, more than you would have been if you was just a business associate. So you're gonna see things, and you're gonna hear things, and you're gonna learn things off rip just because of the fact that you're around them. And I feel like that's kind of the experience that I got. I got to learn more about the military. I got to learn more about life in general. I was being seen with them, so people started to know who I was. Like, I got to know names. I got to know a lot, bro. It really taught me a lot about the Army life in general, and like how important just being around a certain person can change a lot of shit. That boy looking at parlays right now. No, he looking at parlays right now. My boy, this dude that I work with, bro, be on that shit all day. I'd be like, how is you doing this right now, bro? We supposed to be doing a mission. We're supposed to be at work. You talking about Luca for 40 and shit. Looking at lines. I'm off topic, but that's my dog. Networking, like I was saying, bro, is pretty much one of the biggest tools you can put in your back pocket for when you're in the military, because you're going to be around people that, say you go to, like, if I knew somebody that's actually coming here, bro, from Washington. He's PCS in here, and he needed me to pick up his car and shit. So you know, went to the dude that dropped his car off, got his keys and stuff like that. You know, now his car is good, it's safe. Just knowing certain people, bro, and creating those friendships, and say that ties into something where you get out. Like, oh, I know this dude. I used to know him when he was in the military. Now he works at this company, so I can get on now. Or, oh, I worked with this guy, and he knows this about whatever job, so he can help me out. There's little things like that, bro. You never know who you're around. You never know what that person knows, or you never know what that person's going, how that person's going to benefit you later on in life, or at a certain point in time where you might need them. And I don't want to say use that as like a, don't use it as like a, I don't want to make it seem like just a personal gain. Like, don't just network with people and don't try to create relationships because you're trying to use somebody for something. But definitely, regardless, you need to use it in some sort of way, in a genuine way, to where it's like, okay, I can benefit, you can benefit, and we're not trying to get over each other. Or I'm not just talking to you because, oh, I know I can get something out of it, right? That's something that I learned big time since I've been in. And it's helped me already in multiple ways, bro. Just knowing people, just being able to call somebody and be like, hey, bro, I was told this, and I need, like, you know anything about this? I know you worked in that field, right? Or in that field of information, whatever. It helps, bro. And when I was at Sergeant Major Driver, I saw that shit firsthand, how quick just being around them and meeting certain people and being on different tasks and just moving around a lot, bro, in that position really gave me like a one up at that rank that I was at. You know, I was just an E4, and some people say it's like, oh, it's just a whatever job, but I benefited a lot from it, bro. I met so many different people. I was able to build relationships that, you know, I'll probably have till I get out or when I'm out of the military. It helped me a lot, and it helped me be a better man, you know, being around. I always say, especially now that I'm about to be 30. Relax, I know I'm 30, I'm old as shit. But, well, I'm not really, I don't feel old, but that's what people gonna say. But being around those people that's in their 40s, you know, late 40s, 50s or whatever, I feel like I got so much knowledge, and it opened my eyes to like, okay, this is what I really need to be on, right? This is the information that I need to be on. Not even just about Army shit. Army stuff was good. I got a lot of Army knowledge and a lot of Army tools that I can use for later, or at the time when I really needed it. But as far as life goes, I learned so much from these people, bro. Because at the end of the day, I know that respecting your elders and all that stuff is a big thing, but you just want to be around people that have experienced life. You want to be around people that have gone through shit, regardless if you like them or not, regardless if you understand them or not. Y'all can disagree, agree, whatever. But you've been through life, so you gotta know something. You would hope they know something that you don't know, because you got 10, 15 years on me. That was a big opener for me, right? I didn't always agree with them. I probably wouldn't hang out with a lot of those people, or some of those people like outside of work. But I know at work, and then some of the topics and knowledge that they were spitting, I could be like, oh yeah, he's definitely right. I'm gonna listen to what he's saying, and I'm gonna keep that in the back of my mind for later when I really need it. And that's called, I feel like that's just kind of like letting go of your ego, not really judging people by their cover, you know, like just being open to learning something new, or being open to learning what somebody's talking about. Network, bro. That's the main thing I've been doing since I've been in the military. I've been trying to build relationships, get to know people, no matter their MOS, which is their job, no matter like what color they are, like female, male. I just but like I want that information, and I like the idea of being like, all right, I know this person, they can help me out, and I for sure probably got something that can help them. But it's not even about really just having that exchange. It's like, oh, you're a good person, I'm a good person. Like, I know I can hit you up, or you know you can hit me up. It's that simple, bro. That's why you should always be a good person. Because if you're an asshole, and I come across a couple of them too, you most likely ain't gonna get shit from nobody. Nobody gonna really want to be around you, you know. And I think that with rank, or like whatever your situation is, there's times where people kind of get ahead of themselves, or they build that ego, where they like, no, I'm an E8, I'm an E whatever, and or I'm a captain, whatever the hell it is, bro. And they just kind of they ruin those chances to build those relationships with people, you know. Or even if you come in as a lower enlisted person, you're just like, oh, I ain't gonna fuck with nobody, I don't really want to deal with nobody, I'm just here to do my time, whatever. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But at the end of the day, bro, there's nothing more valuable in this earth, I feel like, than having good, healthy relationships and having that networking capability to where you can be like, yo, like, how you doing, bro? I know I ain't talked to you in 2-3 years or whatever it is, but this is my issue. You know, can you help me out with this? And most people gonna help you, bro. So those two things, relationships and networking, mainly relationships though. I think that's what we were put here on earth for, was to build bonds and to have relationships with each other, to learn from each other, to get information about what I'm dealing with, what you're dealing with, what you're learning, pass it on to your kids or pass it on to the next person so they can pass it down. You never know how you can help somebody. And that's probably relationships is probably the biggest. I hope y'all watch this episode, bro, pass it along, because relationships in general, regardless if it's military, regardless if you work at goddamn Dollar General, you work at McDonald's, bro. Relationships are big, and they go a long way. And the best way to have good relationships is just to be a good person in the first place. You're gonna naturally attract to other good people, is what I believe. So, yeah, that's that for me, bro. That's it for me. I'm gonna get out of here. I gotta be at formation in like 2 minutes. I'm out of here. I'll holler at y'all.